Is there any advice or any wisdom you would speak into any father who may be experiencing or may eventually experience this, where you unfortunately have this happen?
A matter of fact, a really good friend of mine just lost his daughter to cancer a few months ago. And I kind of had the same conversation with him. I told him, I said, bro, it is not get easier. You just get through it. And that's all you can really say. I cannot like give these promises like, oh yeah, in a year, life is going to be this. It's like, you just get through it. And then it kind of just becomes what it is, being without that person. And, I have moments of, walking by and seeing her picture and breaking down to where it's like it's been years since she passed. Sometimes I feel like that. That situation with my daughters was different. She was Down syndrome, and she had a condition within her Down syndrome that was called pulmonary hypertension. And she was actually had some situations where she was supposed to pass away like 3 different times in her earlier years. And the doctors said that we don't really plan on her making it past her teenage years. So honestly,
Wow.
to make it to 32, although I mourn her loss, like I spent way more time with her. We got to spend way more time with her than we were supposed to. So we always look at that part, I think a lot of it is I am blessed to have grown up in the 70s and the 80s. And so I think people from that Gen X always try to keep young at heart in some way, shape, or form. Because we just come from like the greatest era, man. Like the greatest things ever invented came out in those times. And so we have and we grew up in an era where there wasn't a lot of technology, so you relied on outdoors, you relied on being athletic, you relied on friends more because there wasn't a lot of things to do solo.
So you said the greatest things ever invented were from those decades. So what would you say are like the top couple of things that you're like, oh yeah, the 70s and 80s represent blank?
Oh my God, hip hop.
Okay.
Hip hop, man. Hip hop. I've been involved with hip hop. I'd like to say since the late 70s, but 1983 was when I officially started DJing. I got my first set of turntables. I started breakdancing and things like that. I still carry things from the hip hop culture to this day that will not leave me. Like from things that I wear to the way that I talk, to music that I listen to, the way that I walk. Gen X, we walk with a different swag.
You are serving as a really fatherly role to so many. So when somebody comes under your care, and what are some of those key lessons that are really important for you to pass on through your coaching in jiu-jitsu?
Well, my approach is, and I think that it's been part of why the gym has been open for so long and why I continue to have students with really no advertisement. Like I don't advertise, I don't run ads, I'm not a big social media guy, post every now and then. We had a great practice kind of trip, but it's always been my philosophy of the martial arts just building a better person. And I mean, a better person is not just being a better human being, but kind of building somewhat of a superhuman. I always like look at that approach when I'm trying to train somebody. I'm trying to like use martial arts to develop them physically, mentally, from work, everything from work ethic to confidence. Like my main thing is that when people learn from me, that they are learning something that they'll have a confidence in applying. Because if you don't have the confidence to apply something, you're not going to apply it correctly. You're not going to be able to protect yourself in a situation if you're unsure. If you're throwing your hands up like, oh my God, I'm supposed to block it, where I want it to be in their natural instinct to like bring that on. Like, this is going to be the last thing you do is attack me, but to take that philosophy of protecting yourself to work, to tackling tasks, to dealing with homework, to dealing with fatigue, like, using that same approach that I used to teach somebody how to fight, per se, to use that in life in the hopes of, I always tell my students, just like I'm teaching my kids, is, we're put on this earth for a purpose. We're put on this earth to what I tell people is like, what are you doing to be part of like the vibe? What are you doing to be part of the movement of the world? Are you just existing? Are you taking up space? Or are you inspiring? Are you moving the world forward culturally, artistically, economically? Like, are you doing something? And martial arts is, I guess, my avenue to get into, students' heads of how to improve in that.
So one of the things that you said, which I think is really critical in our day and age, that I let's get your opinion on this. You talked about work ethic and confidence at the beginning, and then you led into like application of something. And I feel like in some sense we live in such a world where we are so focused on like knowledge, like, oh, I know this, that, and the other, but a lot of people don't know how to apply it. I mean, anything. Like, I can watch anything on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram, but can I actually go do it myself?
Right, right.
So I think application is huge.